At the beginning of the movie, we see a very frightened girl who is suddenly grabbed by someone and dragged for a moment before being let go. However, when she turns around to look, there is no one behind her. Then, all of a sudden, her eyes fall on someone, and to her horror, she sees a demon with the face of a goat approaching her. The girl screams in terror. The demon strikes her on the head with a machete, killing her. Next, Miral and Fendi, two friends working as cleaners of homes where people have died, are on their way to a job. Fendi forgets the report file, but they can't turn back as it's too far, and he says the report doesn't matter, as it's always either death by old age or suicide. Suddenly, something goes wrong with their van, forcing Miral to pull over, and when they step out to check, they discover that one of the tires is flat. As Miral begins fixing the tire, Fendi asks whether his twin is a boy or a girl, mentioning that his aunts on his father's side are also twins, but they're not identical. Miral replies that he's told him before he doesn't really know his twin, as they were separated when they were 2 years old. However, his mother once told him that his twin's name is Lukman. Just then, Fendi sees a car approaching them, which comes to a stop behind their van. A man gets out of the car and walks toward them, and seeing him, both of them feel a little uneasy, but the man simply asks if their van is broken, to which Miral replies that the tire is flat. The man says he had already guessed, explaining that in this area, many mischievous kids place wood and nails on the road. Fendi asks how he knows that, to which the man replies that he lives nearby, and then asks if there's anything he can help with. Miral says it's almost done, to which the man begins to leave, but then pauses and warns them to be careful, saying there are many snakes around. When they finally reach the house, Miral suddenly has a vision and remarks that it feels like déjà vu, to which Fendi jokes that it must be related to his twin. As they get out of the van, Miral notices a girl standing at a distance, and to make sure he's not imagining it, he looks back and sees that the girl is indeed there, but only then Fendi hands him his clothes, and when Miral looks back again, the girl has vanished. Fendi comments that they didn't put up the caution tape, so it's not a police case, to which Miral says that's why the report matters. Now, as they enter the house, the strong smell hits them, and Miral asks Fendi to turn on the light, but when he does, nothing happens, to which Miral tells him to leave it on and says they'll find the fuse box. Unable to find the fuse box, Miral suggests finding water first and using the generator if needed. He then tells Fendi to go upstairs, while he checks downstairs. As Miral enters a room, the stench hits him first, and he sees maggots crawling on the floor. He starts taking photos of the scene, and as he checks his camera, a sudden thud startles him, prompting him to step out of the room to investigate. Meanwhile, Fendi enters another room and is horrified by what he sees. He tells Miral he found a site upstairs. Confused, Miral murmurs, "Are there 2 sites?" To which Fendi says he found only 1 site upstairs, then asks, "What are you waiting for?" Miral responds, "There's 1 more site over there," to which Fendi wonders what happened in this house. Fendi leads Miral upstairs to the site, and Miral admits that he's never seen a case like this before. Fendi examines the blood and tells Miral that it looks like it's only 2 or 3 days old. Miral sits beside him, adding, "But if it's only 2 or 3 days old, it wouldn't have maggots like this." Miral then asks Fendi to go check all the rooms again, while he calls the office to inquire about the report on this house. As Miral tries to call, it fails, and he hears a noise under the bed. Meanwhile, Fendi tries to open a door but finds it locked, but as he turns to leave, he hears a noise coming from inside the room. Perplexed, he peeks through the keyhole and stumbles back, seeing someone moving inside. Then, the door swings open on its own, and Fendi tries to process what he just saw. Miral bends down to check under the bed and is startled to see a rat eating something. He crawls under the bed to retrieve the object, and as he emerges, he's horrified to discover it's a rotten finger. Just then, he hears a noise, and when he turns around, the finger has vanished. Next, they stand outside a bathroom, startled by the sight of a hanging rope. Miral tells Fendi to check his phone and call the office, but he shows him there are no signals. Fendi speculates it's a murder case, saying someone killed 2 people, then hanged himself. But Miral disagrees, saying the office didn't mention a major case. He adds that if it were murder, forensics would have sealed the door with caution tape. With time short, he says they should set up the power generator to light all rooms. They'll clean the downstairs room together, then split up upstairs. Meanwhile, Aisha tells her grandmother that someone has entered Talk Matt's house. Alarmed, her grandmother grows uneasy and quickly calls Aisha inside. Later, Miral tells Fendi he heard a noise upstairs, to which Fendi jokes that it must be a ghost, and keeps working, but Miral says he'll go check it out while you finish up downstairs. As Miral checks the rooms, a silent female figure passes behind him. Later, Fendi discovers a symbol on the pentagram hidden beneath a carpet and is shocked by the sight. His attention then shifts to a nearby closet, which he cautiously opens, only to be further disturbed by the strange witchcraft items inside. He pulls out a box, breaks its lock, and opens it, revealing even more bizarre objects. Driven by curiosity, he carefully removes the items one by one until, at the bottom, he finds a book tightly wrapped and secured with wire. Fendi brings the book aside and unwraps it, and as he tries to open it, his finger is pricked and a drop of his blood falls onto the cover. He then opens the book and flips through its pages, discovering information about various demons and the rituals to summon them, which terrifies him. As he reads the name of one particular demon, the lights begin to flicker, and suddenly, the door to the house opens, startling both of them. Miral walks over to him and asks, "Did you hear that?" To which Fendi says yes and asks if someone entered the house. They return to the main door, and Miral says something feels off, but Fendi brushes it off as just the wind and notes that rain is coming. Miral admits he's heard strange noises more than once, and when Fendi asks for details, Miral says he'll explain later. As they make their way upstairs, a sudden noise from one of the rooms stops them in their tracks, paralyzed with fear. Fendi asks, "What was that?" But Miral is equally clueless, and slowly and cautiously, they approach the source of the sound. When they step into the room, they're stunned to see the body outline reappear on the carpet. Fendi says, "We already cleaned this room, so how is this here again?" To which Miral replies that something about this house has felt off from the start, like it's been trying to warn them, and insists they need to get out tonight. As they enter the other room, everything is just as before, and shocked. Miral says he already cleaned this room. They rush to another room to grab Fendi's bag, and Fendi explains he found this strange symbol and objects while tidying earlier. Miral identifies it as a pentagram, used in devil worship, and when Fendi asks how he knows, Miral says he's read about it. Fendi adds that he found a book wrapped in red plastic and barbed wire, to which Miral asks if he read it, and Fendi says no. Suddenly, they hear a noise, and Miral urges they leave immediately. They rush to the main door, but their hands burn when they try to open it, and when Fendi heads to the window, the same thing happens. Frustrated, Miral asks what he did with the book, to which Fendi admits he only read one word, prompting Miral to scold him. What if it was a summoning spell? Fendi tells him to calm down, but Miral snaps, blaming him for everything going wrong. Fendi shoves him, saying he just wanted to know what was inside, to which Miral retorts that a book wrapped in barbed wire and locked in a chest is clearly not meant to be read. Fendi concedes, and Miral replies sarcastically, "Now you're clever." Later, Fendi reveals the demon's name he read from the book, saying there must be a reason it was written, or why would the owner keep it? Miral asks if he's heard of the sigil of Baphomet, to which Fendi says no. So Miral explains it's tied to Satan worship, where followers try to summon Satan himself. He says he is unsure if the book is directly related, but the goat head symbol looks familiar. Fendi opens the book and points to an illustration, saying they need to light 6 candles in a pentagram and speak 4 names. He wonders aloud if following the full ritual might reverse everything, and maybe naming the demon is what trapped them. Miral dismisses the idea, but Fendi insists they have to try something. Miral warns they don't understand the book, and that what if it demands a life in return? But Fendi dismisses the fear, saying a book can't take a life, and besides, he has his camera, so if anything happens, they'll have proof. Meanwhile, Layla visits Isiak's house, where his wife answers the door, and Layla asks where Isiak is. His wife calls him out, and when he appears, Layla says the same thing happened again. Fendi and Miral prepare for the ritual, and Miral reads the instructions that he must recite the forbidden names. after which a one-eyed shadow will appear unnoticed. Then, a drop of blood must be placed on the spirit plate, and when it spins, the supernatural gate opens. Once it stops, the candles will extinguish, signaling their release. But release from what? The book doesn't say. Miral then hands the book to Fendi, who asks, "What should I use to draw blood?" To which Miral hands him an artifact saying he can use it. Fendi pricks his finger with it, letting a drop of blood fall onto the ceremonial plate. He then opens the book and begins to read aloud the first forbidden name, Baal-Zeba. Turning the page, he speaks the second, Yetzir-Hala, and as he utters the third name, Samsamazur, the front door suddenly opens. A powerful, unseen force rushes up the stairs and enters the room, but nothing is visible. Suddenly, Fendi catches a glimpse of the girl who was murdered at the very beginning. Shaken, he reads the fourth name, Montgom, then quickly sets the book aside and spins the blood-marked plate. As the plate whirls, Miral turns and is horrified to see a woman in red standing at the door. She raises a machete, stepping forward with deadly intent. But just as she's about to strike, the plate stops spinning, causing both men to collapse and the candles to blow out. After a while, Miral jolts awakes and asks, "Where did she go?" To which Fendi says he don't know. "But you almost got hit by the machete." Miral asks, "Why is it so cold?" To which Fendi says after this plate stopped spinning, all the candles went out, and suddenly it became like this. Just then, someone whispers Miral's name, startling both of them. Fendi suggests that maybe someone is coming to rescue them, but Miral asks, "Who else here knows their name?" Fendi replies, "Boss," prompting Miral to ask if he thinks the boss would come here. Frightened, they decide to go downstairs to take a look, and Fendi suggests that since they're already there, they might as well open the door. Cautiously, they approach the door, and this time, their hands don't burn. Fendi quickly opens the door and steps outside, but they are stunned to see a dense forest before him. And without hesitation, they rush back inside and shut the door. They then head upstairs, and to their horror, they find a real corpse lying on the floor. Frustrated, Miral asks Fendi, "What have you done?" reminding him that he had warned him earlier, but he wouldn't listen. They then rush to another room and find another dead body lying there. Panicked, they move to check the third room, only to discover yet another corpse, this one hanging in the bathroom. Suddenly, the body slides down and the door slams shut. And after a while, the door swings open, but the corpse is not there. Terrified, they rush downstairs, where Miral confronts Fendi, saying, "Look at what you've done." Fendi suggests, "Maybe it's just messing with our heads, and maybe this is all just a dream." But Miral punches him and snaps, "You still think this is a dream?" Fendi insists his intentions were good and he just wanted to fix things. Suddenly, they hear noises from the room again, and Miral says there's no way a corpse could move on its own, then gets up and walks toward it. However, when they both enter, they're shocked to find the body missing. Fendi suggests someone else is in the house, but Miral points out there was no corpse when they first arrived. So, who put it there? Fendi repeats that a corpse can't move by itself, to which Miral explains that they're not in the real world anymore. When Fendi asks what he means, Miral admits he doesn't know, but none of this makes sense. Just then, Fendi spots something and alerts Miral, who's horrified to see a ghost there, and as they try to escape, they encounter the demon but narrowly evade its attack. Meanwhile, Miral hides in the kitchen and spots some bottles. He quickly grabs one of them and smashes it, turning it into a makeshift weapon for protection. Fendi hides in the bathroom, crying in fear, but soon tries to calm himself down. Just then, a female ghost approaches the bathroom and begins trying to open the door, sending Fendi into a deeper panic. The ghost starts banging her head against the door, but after a tense moment, she suddenly disappears. Fendi gathers his courage and stands up. The ghost lunges at him. It tries to strangle him, then vomits blood all over his face. But just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanishes again. Terrified, Fendi runs from the bathroom but freezes at a horrifying sight. Meanwhile, the demon grabs Miral by the neck, and when Miral tries to fight back, it overpowers him and stabs him in the arm, causing him to scream in pain. But with a surge of determination, Miral yanks the knife out and stabs the demon, and seizing the moment, he escapes. Outside, Miral frantically searches for Fendi, But instead, he stumbles upon a figure covered with a sheet. Thinking it's Fendi, he says, "Stop messing around." But as he pulls the sheet, no one is there. Terrified, Miral rushes outside, only to freeze, seeing a ghost there. Just then, Fendi grabs him by the mouth, pulls him into a room, and signals him to stay quiet. Miral looks at him and asks, "What's wrong with you?" To which Fendi whispers, "I was chased by a female ghost." Fendi then asks, "What about you?" And Miral replies, "I was stabbed." Miral then tells Fendi that he thinks it's because of that book that they're trapped in this house, and that they need to destroy it. Fendi asks, "What if we burn it?" To which Miral replies, "I'm not sure if it will work, but it's worth a try." They cautiously enter the room, and Miral picks up the book. He then asks Fendi for the lighter and tries to ignite it, but it refuses to catch. Fendi asks, "What's now?" To which Miral replies, "We'll burn it in the kitchen." But just then, the door slams shut, and we see the ghost slowly hovering toward them. The ghost draws nearer and calls out Miral's name, but it disappears as he turns. Afterward, when both of them come downstairs, they see the female ghost banging its head against the wall, and it turns to them. They flee in sheer terror. In the chaos, they run into different rooms, and Miral suddenly collides with something and falls to the floor. And as he turns to look, he's horrified to see Fendi's lifeless body lying there. In a flashback, we see that when Fendi came out of the bathroom, he saw a ghost there. Scared, he starts to back away, but then he encounters the female ghost that stabs him in the neck, killing him. Just then, Miral hears someone laughing, and in a panic, he steps out to investigate, only to find Fendi standing there, laughing. Miral asks, "Who are you?" To which Fendi turns to him and simply says, "I am Fendi." Miral says, "You're not Fendi," and punches him in anger. But Fendi just keeps laughing. Miral strikes him again and again, but Fendi continues to laugh, unfazed. Frustrated, Miral hits him hard enough to snap and twist his neck, but to his horror, he begins laughing again. Terrified, Miral runs and Fendi chases after him. But Miral slips into a room and slams the door shut, while Fendi bangs on the door frantically. Now, as Miral catches his breath, the door suddenly swings open on its own, and a ghost enters. But when he turns around, no one is there. He then realizes someone is behind him and quickly punches and knocks it down. Furious, he yanks the axe from its head and then begins striking it repeatedly, unleashing his frustration with every blow. After that, he steps outside to confront Fendi, who lunges at him, laughing maniacally, but Miral strikes him with the axe, knocking him down. He then returns to the bathroom and apologizes to the real Fendi, saying, "I couldn't protect you, but I've killed the demon that took your form." Miral then heads downstairs, where he is suddenly attacked by the goat-headed demon. He tries to flee, but the demon catches him and hurls him across the room. When Miral struggles to his feet, he's horrified to see the female ghost appear. He tries to escape, but the door slams shut, and the ghost vanishes, only to reappear behind him and lunge, trying to strangle him. Miral grabs the book and strikes her, knocking her down. He then pins her to the ground and repeatedly smashes her head with the book. Afterward, he heads straight to the kitchen and tries to turn on the gas, but it doesn't work. Frustrated, he slams the book before throwing it aside and then screams in rage. Suddenly, the demon grabs him from behind and pulls him through a window into the dining room. As he lies helplessly on the floor, the demon viciously kicks his wound, causing Miral to cry out in pain. It then grabs him by the neck, forces him to his feet, and lifts him into the air, only to hurl him aside moments later. The demon then grabs Miral by the hair, yanks him to his feet, and stabs him with a knife. Miral collapses to the floor, bleeding, and as the demon tries to strike again, Miral catches it midair, struggling to hold it back. Soon after, a light begins to fill the room, and it's revealed that Asiaka and Lila are there, reciting prayers to pull Fendi out of the demon's world. And after a tense moment, Asiaka manages to bring Fendi out. He leans in and asks for his friend's name, to which Miral replies, "Fendi." Layla urgently tells Isiaka that they have to enter that world now, or Fendi won't make it. Fendi suddenly wakes up in another world and wonders if he is still alive. Cautiously, he makes his way downstairs, searching for Miral, but is suddenly attacked by the demon, which pins him to the wall and then stabs him. Fendi screams in pain as he collapses, and then he tries to crawl away. The demon pursues him, catches up, and then sitting on top of him tries to stab him again. But desperate to survive, Fendi uses all his strength to stop the demon. At that moment, he sees Layla and Isiak arrive, and as Fendi continues to struggle, Isiak begins reciting prayers. Soon after, the demon starts to burn and weaken, allowing Fendi to push it aside and escape. Layla grabs Fendi and pulls him away, with Isiak following close behind, and as the door slams shut, Miral jolts awake. When he steps outside, Layla says, "You rest first." Miral then goes into the other room to check and finds Fendi sleeping peacefully there. Miral steps outside and sits down, where Layla offers him tea, and when he asks where he is, she says it's her house, and she is Layla. Miral introduces himself and asks what happened to them, to which Layla explains they were trapped in the outer conscious world after reading from a cursed book. When Miral asks if she threw the book away, she says it's been discarded many times, but it always returns to that room, and that house is cursed. She tells him they're not the first victims, but they were lucky she and Isiak were able to save them just in time. When Miral asks whose house it is, Layla reveals it belonged to her brother, but was inherited by his son Adam and his wife Masara after returning from Europe. He questions the presence of occult items, and Layla says Adam and Masara practiced shirk and aligned themselves with Satan. She tried to guide them, but couldn't change their beliefs. Miral mentions seeing a young woman and a lady in red before escaping the realm, to which Layla slides a photo album toward him, saying the house is steeped in sorrow because many lives have been lost. On the night of the 3 murders, she dreamt of Masara pledging allegiance to Satan in a red dress, which she had worn ever since. Miral then points to a photo, asking who the man is, to which Layla says it's Adam and his wife. Shocked, Miral says he met them just yesterday on the roadside during a flat tire incident. Layla asks if they were in a red car, and when he confirms, she tells him it is impossible because both died 2 years ago in a car crash abroad. In a flashback, it's revealed that Adam had hypnotized Miral and Fendi, instructing them to enter the cursed house and read the book. Back at the car, Adam tells Masara they're already under hypnosis, and if they fail, they'll find others. When she asks if they fail, he reassures her, saying he's never let her down, and the proof is that people still think they're dead. Masara notes Miral looks the same, and Adam replies, similar, but not the same. She asks, maybe his twin? And he answers, maybe, maybe not. Adam and Masara arrive at the house, where Masara forces the demon to kneel and commands him to remove its mask. As it does, it is revealed that it's not a demon, but a human. And when she asks his name, he replies, Lukman. Adam then covers his head with a bag, leans in, and coldly instructs him to hang himself. Lukman quietly gets up and walks away, and as he does, Adam picks up the mask and puts it on. He then extends his hand to Masara, who takes it, and as the two begin to dance, the movie ends there.